हेलो वेलकम बैक टू अनदर सेशन ऑफ फैम हेल्थ एक प्लेटफॉर्म है which stands for family health माने a lot of us have many health concerns, many questions. We all need some hope, motivation, some little strength somewhere. And today I am so delighted in talking to this wonderful human being. You know, he's dealt with COVID. A lot of people have said survivor, but I'm saying, did he survive it or did he overcome it? This is something he's going to tell his grandkids about for sure. Uh, I am going to, in a minute, introduce you to Hrishi Giridhar, Hrishi with an H, yeah, and you can check him out on Facebook. He's a COVID survivor, trooper, conqueror. Well done, you. Rishi, first you got to say hi and then
Hi, everyone.
yeah. So look at Rishi, young, cool dude. You have been the lead guitarist at Indie Roots. You
Yeah.
said in your Facebook profile that your life experience defined you as somebody who studied in the London School of Economics. I'm sorry.
Sure.
I'm sure your life experience is going to change to somebody who dealt with COVID. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have this beautiful article which
Mhm.
many celebrities have tweeted and they've reposted.
Mhm.
You've been through COVID, been there, done that. A lot of us now want to know what it was like, right?
Yeah.
Over to you. So tell us from the beginning. I know it may sound repetitive, but this is
Mhm.
important for all of us to know.
I
We're
understand.
curious.
Yeah. So I was studying at the LSE for my master's, and just amongst the entire coronavirus outbreak, thousands of students around the world, I think, decided to go home and back to their families, back to their home countries. So the LSE made everything online in terms of lectures and exams. And so within 24 hours, students were packing their bags and just leaving to rush back home. So it was March 16th when I took my flight. And I landed in Mumbai on March 17th. And I had no symptoms. I had nothing at all. I was perfectly fine, perfectly healthy. I passed airport checks. And but despite feeling completely normal, my family and I decided it would be best if I anyway undertook a 14-day quarantine. And just in case, well, in retrospect, that just in case was a good decision.
So, in your article, Rishi, self quarantine was in a guest house, right? This wasn't
It was in another apartment. Yeah, it was in another apartment,
okay.
away from my family. I was completely alone over there.
Yeah, because in
Um,
India, quarantine is often defined as ghar pe hai, we're going to office, and.
yeah. No, it was completely alone. I had no one around me. I did my best to just maintain distance with everyone, wear masks. Yeah, it's just as a precaution. But I think I was generally perfectly fine, and the plan was to come home and study because I have exams coming up. But I think after day two, day three was when day three was when symptoms started arising. Yeah.
So you had a dry cough or not?
No, I didn't have any respiratory problems, which was what was interesting, which is why I never thought I would be tested positive.
Mm.
I had no dry cough. I had no shortness of breath. I had no throat irritation. I had no sneezing, none of that. Like no like respiratory problems at all.
Okay.
My symptoms were fatigue, which was a lot. Like you felt really tired. Fever, which gradually increased and was persistent. I think it went up to 101.9, almost 102. Um, Nausea and vomiting, body pains, and in particular lower body pains, and also dizziness, uh, a lot of dizziness. So on the 21st, this was 4 days after I landed back in Mumbai, I fainted while just walking around at home. I'm not sure how long I was out, but I woke up. I woke up on the floor, and unfortunately, I broke off a few teeth and stuff like that. But uh, I think that's when we decided. I woke up, just tried to patch myself up, and called my family, and they called our family doctor, and he correctly advised us to um, get tested at the hospital.
So you had obviously no idea, yeah, you'd come back to study.
Yeah.
So, oh my God, that's a scary ride to the hospital, I'm sure. So tell us what happened next. How did you
So,
guys go? I mean, did you, how did you manage isolation or?
yeah, so my dad came and picked me up at this point. Um, because how else will I get to the hospital? But he came and picked me up, but we wore masks. He was at the front, I sat behind. We tried to do our best, and he dropped me to the hospital. At that point of time, Kasturba Hospital in Mumbai, it's a government facility. It was the only hospital that was open to testing and stuff like that. So we just went straight there. It was around 11 p.m. at night that I was admitted. They gave me a bed. They did my test, which is just a throat swab, and they gave me dinner, and that's it. Like I was just a matter of waiting 24 hours for the result. Yeah,
Okay. So from there on, you were at the Kasturba Hospital.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. And so your dad left you and went back home, right?
He left me and went back home. Yeah.
Okay. And so 24 hours later, you got tested positive.
Yes, 24 hours later, the next day at night, around, well, it was like early morning the day after that, like 2:30 a.m. was when they informed me that I was tested positive and I had to be moved to another ward. Before that happened, I actually got a call from someone from the hospital and then someone from the government, and they started asking me um, which flight did I come back from, what was my seat number, uh, who was I sitting next to, how did I travel from airport to home, how did I travel from home to hospital, who was at home with me, all of their names, all of their phone numbers. And so I started to get a little suspicious at that point, because why else would they ask me all of these details? But they wanted the information urgently, so I gave it to them. And then again after that is when they told me that I was tested positive.
Oh, dude. And so, first reactions at that time?
uh Well, yeah, I mean, it was 2:30 at night, so it was a bit ominous because it was so late at night, and I was moved to a new ward. But I mean, wh- I was in the hospital. I called my family. Where better a place to be if I have coronavirus than in the hospital and under the care of the nurses and the doctors? I think overall, my family and I were both happy that we took the right decision to come to the hospital instead of staying at home, because we were debating it back and forth. But I can understand some people might be afraid to get themselves tested, might be afraid to go to the hospital. But I mean, if it's negative, if you get negative, you can have peace of mind and go back home. And if it's positive, at least you're in the hospital and you'll be taken care of. So I think
Okay. And so you, in your article, are saying great things about the facility. Tell us a little about, so, if something happens to one of our viewers, yeah, what would be a standard protocol that you recommend people do? So step one, if you feel, even if it's not shortness of breath, yeah,
hmm
if you
hmm
feel a little off, no harm in checking with the doctor. That's what I hear
yeah,
you say. Yeah. Step
yeah,
two, get to the hospital.
yeah, yeah, I
Okay.
think so. Yeah, in fact, I know that some people are even worried about going to the hospital and potentially leaving the house and contracting it there.
Hmm.
But I know that there are home test facilities, which is what my family did. They got home tests done because my dad dropped me to the hospital, right? So he got a home test done. My family got home tests done. Everyone around me was tested, and they all tested negative. So at least that was peace of mind. But yeah, I think if you feel off, and I think if symptoms persist for some time, absolutely no harm in just getting it tested. I don't think it should be anything people should fear. Because regardless of whether it's positive or negative, it's going to the hospital is only going to be a good thing, right? So
Right.
yeah.
So talk us through what happens in a hospital. You were in isolation. Do they wear their hazmats or
Yeah.
radioactive fish gear? And yeah, and you have
So
some good things to say about the hospital. So tell us about that. So we're
yeah.
reassured.
So day one in the hospital was so I was changed. I changed my ward at night, like 2:30, right? So there was nothing else to do except sleep at that point. I wake up and someone is there to give me chai, and then breakfast is given, and then nurses on day one did all sorts of tests: BP, blood test, X-ray, blood oxygen, all sorts of things. I think just generally to check vitals and stuff like that. And doctors were in to ask me if I have any symptoms, if I have any complaints, what I'm currently going through, etc., etc. Um, and yeah, they are dressed in. I'm not a medical professional, so I don't know if it's considered sufficient or not sufficient or what. But from what I could see, doctors were dressed. They had goggles, they had masks, they had headgear, they had foot gear, they had jackets and gloves and everything. So I hope that is enough for them. I'm not sure if this, according to them, if it's considered enough, but I hope that it was enough because it's important that they remain safe and stuff like that.
And so,
Um,
how long did your treatment last in the hospital? And you were
I
all by yourself, right?
Uh, I was no. There were other COVID patients
Oh,
in the
okay,
ward.
in the same room. Is that how it
So
works?
initially, I was in a ward with one other person, and then I moved to a room with one other person. Then I moved to a room with two other people,
Oh,
and it's in a ward where there are multiple rooms, and each room has maybe two or three people.
mm, okay.
There's a distance between the beds and all of that. It's fine. But the rooms are also actually I'm glad I wasn't alone because it would have got awfully lonely. But because I was in a ward, well, first of all, I had my roommates, and then the ward has multiple rooms, and the rooms are actually glass, so you can see through them. And so it was like everyone was sort of together, and you end up making ward mates. And just today, someone added me to a group called Kasturba Hospital Friends. So people who've been discharged, and I mean, even though we might not have talked too much with each other, we went through a shared, unique experience, and so there's some sort of connection or some sort of bond made there
Hey, you're all
because I spent
fighters.
19 days in the hospital.
19, you're all fighters. So, was it like really bad for the other roommates in a scary situation?
Um, there were it was all sorts. There were young people and old people. One of my roommates was a very sweet 75-year-old Sardar uncle,
Okay.
and he was totally healthy. He was totally healthy. I think he's discharged, but I have to call him and ask him now. Um, there were young people, people from all sorts of backgrounds. Of course, many people were completely asymptomatic, so no symptoms whatsoever. They just got tested as a precaution because they had international travel. Some people had no international travel but had certain symptoms and they were just at home in India, but they still got it. So, a sign that perhaps community transmission has started. Some people were not serious. I admit some people were serious. Um, but what can you do? I mean, it was a whole mixed bunch. Eventually, so initially I was in a ward where I think they were paying more close attention to every patient. But once my symptoms subsided, they moved me to a general observation ward so that they could make more room for more serious patients in my ward. So I think they have a process by which they segregate in terms of seriousness and they segregate in terms of symptoms and duration of stay and stuff like that. So they have their process.
So I'm just like curious, and I'm trying to visualize myself in the room. So while they're asymptomatic, which means nobody really shows any symptoms, uh, I mean, there's this, while you're hanging around together, there's this huge threat that looms on your head, right? So do you have television? Did you have your cell phones? Did you see all the WhatsApps and the net?
Um,
How did
th-
you deal with
there
this?
wasn't television, but you're allowed to have phones. I saw someone with their laptop doing work. I think he was doing office work. I'm not too sure.
Good
Um,
for him.
Um, yeah, there was an Excel sheet open, so that's what I assume. Their books and pens are allowed. That's all fine. You're allowed to video call your friends and your family and stay in touch. I personally stayed away from the news in general, uh, just as a personal preference. I didn't want to see too much negative news while I was in the hospital. But I mean, you have no restrictions in terms of connectivity to the outside world.
Right.
It's just that no family members are allowed, no friends are allowed. Like it's a ward where only COVID positive patients are kept. So no
And
visitors.
what kind of symptoms did these guys have? Did they have the traditional dry cough and short
A lot of people had a dry cough, and I must say, a dry cough is a very distinctive cough. It's not like the regular, like the regular one that we usually have.
okay,
So yeah, there was a lot. There were, as I said, there were people of all. I met people of varying degrees of symptoms. Yeah, some people were serious and had to be on oxygen and IV. Some people were not serious and completely normal. So
okay. And so how many tests did you go through before you were declared negative and get out of here now?
So I had my first positive test, which was why I was admitted. Right after that, they did another test immediately, and that came negative. And I was very happy. And I was like, whoa, maybe my immunity is great and I'll be discharged really soon. But after that, the procedure is that you need two consecutive negative reports to be discharged. Um, but after my first negative, it came positive again. So that was a bit of a bummer.
This virus is like a tricky thing, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's what makes it so scary because it's just so tricky.
It's a bit weird simply because of I know I met a lot of people first of all who had negative, positive, negative, positive.
Hmm.
I also it's a bit weird because it seems to affect different people completely randomly. Some people it affects very seriously, some people it doesn't affect at all. So it's a bit of a weird virus, I must admit. From my experience, I'm not a doctor, of course, but from what I saw, yeah.
Hmm. Okay,
So
and so
I
you went
went
through,
through.
yeah, some
Sorry,
treatment.
I went through 4 or 5 maybe tests that all came positive, and then finally I got one negative, and then my second negative.
And so then do you have to, okay, let's talk about life post discharge. So what are the do's and don'ts? The fact that you're here talking to us, thank you so much.
No, no.
Suggests that, it's okay. We have to deal with
Yeah,
it. We'll deal with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And that people live on to tell the story.
yeah.
Uh, yeah. So what happens post discharge? As in, are there any protocols? Are there any rules?
Yeah, yeah. So, first of all, I just want to say that while I was at the hospital, I saw like 15 people get discharged and go home, and it was great. Like a lot of people got discharged. A lot of people are recovering. When I was first at the hospital, I was there for the first 5 6 days, and no one was getting discharged. So the initial worry was, are people actually recovering? But a lot of people got discharged. But yeah, once you're discharged, they recommended some medication. I think that's just multivitamins, and I think I have to do another 14-day quarantine. So I'm in my room. I'm not leaving it. Um,
Good
strict
time
social.
to catch up on your studies or make music. Yeah, one of the two. How are
I
you
agree.
feeling now?
I'm all better. I'm all better. Yeah, totally fine.
Okay,
Rules are strict social distancing, strict hand hygiene. Um, just stay in your room for 14 days. Make sure symptoms don't relapse or anything like that. And take multivitamins, and I think that's it. I'm also on some antibiotics because when I fell, I broke some teeth, and so we consulted a dentist, and I think the doctor recommended me to take antibiotics to prevent an infection because it hurts and stuff like that. But that's secondary, I guess.
yeah, he's done a good job though. So, yeah. So, do you know what treatment you were on, or I know typically treatments would vary from
Yeah,
your 75-year-old
yeah. I
mate
think
versus you. Yeah.
I think the main advice that we were given was basically rest, eat well, and always stay hydrated. We were told to always make sure our throat is wet, regular water, warm water if possible. Warm water was given at the hospital.
Mm.
So that was it. And I was also given medication. I'm not too sure. Uh, yeah, but there were different tablets. Some days I was given 2 tablets, some days 6 tablets. But I think some combination of multivitamins, immunity boosters, hydroxychloroquine, um, maybe like antiviral. I'm really not sure
Yeah.
exactly what, but yeah,
Okay. Okay.
medication.
So let's talk about your Facebook and your Instagram post, yeah. And if anybody wants to come and visit your page, that's Rishi with an H, yeah,
Mhm.
Hrishi Giridhar. So you can read the entire article. What made you write the article? Why did you want to share? Because there is a certain sense of stigma uh,
Yeah,
attached
yeah,
to people don't really want to say they
yeah.
have anything to do with COVID. So what made you write?
I think what pushed me to write the article was, first of all, the fact that government hospitals get such a bad rep, which I thought was unfair. Um, and also seeing the news and how people aren't allowing doctors to go back to their societies and nurses. They're struggling to get food and rations. And also, we all know that doctors are working hard, but when you're in the hospital and people are struggling, and doctors and nurses and ward boys are running around, and they're wholeheartedly putting, doing, working around the clock. And I really felt like I felt bad, you know. I mean, it was very, very heartwarming to see them work so hard, but I felt bad because they're really working hard. So I thought it. I mean, I didn't expect it to blow up. I just wanted to share with my friends and family. But um,
So tell us what happened post the article. Now that you posted it. Uh,
yeah, I posted it, and I don't know. Just it started getting shares on Facebook. Like within like 20-25 minutes, it had like over 200 shares, and then I'm like, okay, that's interesting. But I didn't think it would go beyond that. And then I think Aditya Thackeray and the BMC page shared it on their Instagram and social media handles, and then Hritik Roshan shared it, which is interesting. Um, I'm glad in retrospect that I made it about the hospital, you know,
but
and
you were genuinely indebted to them. I
I
saw
am.
we're hanging on Facebook all the time these days, right? So I
Mhm.
saw a joke which says this is the first time people who are privileged are not exactly rushing to get to the US or UK to get themselves treated, and
Yeah, yeah,
Indian
yeah,
doctors rock. Government
yeah,
hospitals rock even more than
yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
that's reassuring. So
Because my treatment at Kasturba was free, and it's free for everyone, regardless of anything. Anyone who gets treated there. You know, people have been asking me, oh, he must have got good treatment because he went to a private hospital. What about people who do not have those means? I'm like, no, it was a government hospital. There were people of all backgrounds there, and it's free. It's totally free.
how awesome! I think the government is doing a fantastic job, and I
Yeah,
think
I do
you
get
are
that.
doing a fantastic job. You avoided social media and you avoided, uh,
Yeah.
news, and well done, you. So, what's the morale with all the patients? What is, with all the positives?
I think initially, when there are new patients who come into the ward, they're always stressed, and so there was a lot of like there were emotions were high when there were new patients in. There was crying and stuff, but whenever that happened, there was always a bunch of patients who'd go and comfort that other patient, which was quite nice to see. Because many people were healthy,
You
and
don't need
so
to do any more social distancing in the ward, do you? Hmm.
and I mean, obviously, everyone, yeah, it's mandatory to wear a mask, and people don't touch each other or go very close to each other. But if someone is crying, then people go over and just let them know that oh, I've been here for 8 days, I've been here for 7 days. He got his first negative. You'll be fine as well. They're taking care. So a lot of that was happening, um, and I met a lot of people. So yeah, the morale is it always starts off with a new patient being stressed and then eventually just settling into it and just hoping for those two negatives to be discharged. Yeah.
It's so awesome talking to you. I'm not scared anymore. Yeah, there's this fear lurking
Yeah.
because the lockdown has made us so scared.
It's a
Uh,
bit dystopian. Yeah.
yeah, I mean
It,
it's a good thing, but it just I think the problem is in our brains right now, and it's good to see people like you. Yeah, so when are you going to get back to your studies now? Enough.
yeah.
This is a tale you can tell your grandkids one day, but
Yeah. I need to get back ASAP. I have exams coming up, and
they
that's it.
postponed it now, right? Maybe
No,
they'll.
it's all online. It's all online.
Yeah, but they're not going to do it. It's quite bad in Europe, unfortunately.
Yeah, but it's still happening. It's all because it's all online, and everyone is just back in their home countries. And
And you're feeling fit and fine. And so, when
I'm
does
great.
your 14-day post the 19-day treatment in the hospital, when does that get over?
The 14-day quarantine gets over on the 23rd. Yeah.
Okay, so you've been through quite a bit, haven't you?
Yeah, I've lost a lot of time. That's okay.
Lost a lot of time. I think you've gained an entire life experience. Quickly change your
I know. I was just
page.
kidding.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's amazing.
Yeah. I mean,
Because
I don't want to trivialize the whole thing. I don't want to make it seem like the hospital is a big cheerful place and everyone's having a party. There are people who are struggling. There are people who lost loved ones. People I know, who've passed away. So I don't want to trivialize the situation, uh, especially for people who are slightly older. I maintain social distancing, if not for yourself, at least for them, your parents and your grandparents, just all of that. So yeah, but overall, people are recovering, and we should just be a little cautious. Yeah.
yeah, that was it was so positive all along, and
I know, I know. I didn't.
with this, yeah.
You know,
But
I mean, I just wanted to be a little realistic, and
realistic,
yeah,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
I hope this.
I didn't want to spread the message that it's all well and good and we can all leave the house. Like,
Yeah, maybe we should all say, "Go, Corona, go." Yeah,
yeah.
together, and then miraculously it will go. Okay, so you take care of yourself. Is there
Thank you.
something else that you think we should be covering as part of this? I hope.
Not in particular. Just let's keep supporting everyone who's working right now on the front lines.
Yeah.
Doctors, nurses, ward boys, cleaners, cooks, policemen, delivery boys, everyone. Um, they're doing their best. Uh, Truly, they're doing their best. And
And till you don't go through this experience yourself, you don't really appreciate the
yeah,
effort taken the
yeah,
government to
yeah,
get us to this level. Yeah,
yeah,
and it does come at a lot of sacrifice for all of
yeah,
us.
yeah, yeah.
So
I
that
know it's a huge
go back.
cost for. It's a huge cost just for me individually to spend 19 days in the hospital, to be given a bed, to be given food. I'm sure it's a massive cost, but it's totally free for me as a citizen.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
there's a lot being done.
yeah. So thank you. And the other message I got is isolation works. I'm so glad your family is safe.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hope they,
Isolation works.
yeah, I can imagine what your mom would have gone throughout, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah. But yeah, isolation works. I think when my family got tested negative, uh, it was in retrospect a brilliant idea that I did not meet them, despite the fact that I was healthy and it seemed like just a precautionary measure. Just do it anyway, and
Mm.
it works. Yeah.
So, just out of curiosity, did you ever ask your doctor how come we don't have the same symptoms and how come, I mean, did it ever strike you to ask them?
I didn't
I'm
really
sure they
ask.
wouldn't have had the time to sit down and hold your hand, but
True, true. Yeah, that's definitely true. They didn't have it wasn't. They're always running around and they come, they ask your symptoms and they sort of go away. That's fine though. I didn't really ask them. I just think it affects different people in different ways based on your immunity, and I don't know. I really have no idea. But yeah,
not this virus. So we keep doing these conversation with some people who know this a little better than I do. And so this virus has the ability of mutating, right?
yeah, yeah,
So it changes its
yeah.
persona in different stages with different people.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe people are getting affected with different strands of the virus, or I'm just speculating. I'm not a
Nobody
doctor or
knows.
scientist.
Nobody knows. We should ask. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Because
That's
we're going to be public. I don't want to sound a little
yeah.
inappropriate this stage.
Yeah, I
But
understand.
I'm so happy and well done, Kasturba. I'm sure there are facilities
Yeah, across the country.
across country who's doing this, and
Yeah.
thank you for appreciating and well done. So
Thank you so much.
yeah, and
Yeah,
so we'll stay in touch with you.
yeah,
Have
for sure.
another chat 7 days from now.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
want to hear some of your music at that time. I'm not going
For
to play too much right now. Yeah,
sure.
I've
Yeah,
been itching to get you to pick up your guitar and play for us next time.
next
Yeah.
time for
All
sure.
right. So stay
Thank you.
safe, stay far away from everybody, and well done. You
Yeah,
too. Negatives makes a
yeah,
positive, right?
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Or
Thank you. Thank you so much.
thanks,
Take
thanks
care.
so much, Rishi. Bye.
Yeah.
Thanks. You too. Take
Bye.
care.
Take care.